Lately, we've been hearing an awful lot about the tight supplies of gold, cotton, oil, gasoline, but never about chocolate. CNBC's Jane Wells joins us with more on this potential cocoa shortage. And Jane, this has a lot of hearts stopping around the desk here.
Yeah, I actually think we ought to be on the chocolate standard. I'd rather trade chocolate than gold, but that's just me. I'm in front of a legendary See's Candies facility. We're going to go inside later to be on the assembly line. The U.S. is the #1 chocolate market, thanks mostly to me. Cocoa futures ended down yesterday, but they were on a tear last week on supply concerns, especially political stability in the Ivory Coast, though they are down from their highs earlier this year. But get this. Some are warning that the world may run out of affordable chocolate in 20 years as farmers abandon cocoa for something a lot easier to grow and more profitable. The British-based Cocoa Research Association says, quote, chocolate consumption is increasing faster than cocoa production, and it's not sustainable. One London chocolatier says that $1.50 candy bar will eventually cost 7 times that.
I think it's fairly unlikely.
See's Candy CEO Brad Kinsler says cocoa prices have nearly doubled in 5 years, but the market always corrects itself. Still, demand is rising in new markets like India and China.
Demand for chocolate does continue to go up, and worldwide today, the consumption is 3.6 million tons a year. In the 70s, it was 1.5 million tons a year.
And if cocoa becomes scarce, it becomes more expensive. People will plant more of it. You've got 15 degrees either side of the equator that people can plant cocoa.
Gary Guittard says farmers in Vietnam are starting to grow cocoa, and we may see more of it in the cradle of cocoa, South America. Also, Hershey and Mars have reportedly sequenced the cocoa genome, which could mean more resilient trees. And the UK Independent reports that Nestle plans to plant 10 million trees over 10 years. Still, if cocoa becomes too expensive,
it would probably put us out of business because we do not have the buying strength and the ability to lock in huge contracts and maybe control the market, possibly, like the Mars, the Hershey's, the Nestle's of the world.
Now, Joseph Dutcher of Kimmy Candy blames speculation for some of the price volatility, not just supply concerns. But let me leave you with something sweet. You see this facility. Hollywood legend says a very famous TV show came here to see how the assembly line worked and recreate it. Yep, I Love Lucy came to this facility, watched what they did, and then turned it into one of the funniest scenes in TV history. Back to you. Almost as funny as the Vitamita Vegemin.
As a what?
The Vitamita Vegemin. Oh my gosh.
I know the candy. I don't know the Vitamita Vegemin.
Vitamita Vegemin. Well, you say it 10 times. She couldn't.
Jane, thank you. This is a report that everyone here paid very, very close attention to. Some worried faces around.
Right. And when I've been to Hershey, when your kids get a little older, you'll take them. It's very close. You been yet?
No, I haven't been yet.
You got to take the girls.
I hear it smells
there.
great, though.
Oh, it's great, and you watch everything the way it's made, and there's a great park there too, and there's some good golf actually too. Yeah, out in Hershey, it's nice.
Forget gold, forget oil, cotton, soybeans, all of that stuff. This morning we're talking about chocolate, a chocolate shortage. Will boys and girls, young and old, soon be left with no chocolate? Jane Wells is live in LA at the See's Candy Factory. Jane.
Mark, this is actually what they call the enrobing line. You've got the candy centers here, and then they cover them with chocolate. It smells so good in here. Forget global warming. This is the real issue that I'm concerned about. Some chocolate researchers, sellers, and fair trade advocates are threatening the end of affordable chocolate within 20 years, saying cocoa trees are getting old and not being replaced quickly enough. Cocoa farmers in Africa aren't paid very well, and so they're going to switch to something easier and more profitable. Cocoa prices are about twice what they were 5 years ago, according to the CEO of See's. But will supplies really run dangerously low?
There will be more capacity, more growing that happens to meet the supply.
Brad Kinsler Miller says the market always works itself out. For example, Nestle reportedly, again, plans to plant 10 million cocoa trees. Farmers in places like Vietnam are starting to grow. However, demand is rising in new markets like India and China. One chocolatier warns that a $1.50 Snickers or Godiva truffle could eventually cost $11. Really?
The world will continue to get their chocolate bars. Everything will be fine, and we'll all just be happy with having all the candy that we'd like.
It's not like a finite product like oil or gold or silver. It's a seed. You plant it and it grows.
If cocoa, as they're talking, gets that expensive, everybody will be growing cocoa. Heck, we're here in Reno, we'll look at trying to figure out how to grow cocoa if it's that profitable.
There you hear it from the men in the thick of it, and Joseph Dutra of Kimmy Candy sees a second culprit in rising prices.
This year is actually probably one of the biggest years for cocoa production in the world, yet prices are at world highs, and part of that I think is because we have a weak dollar and there's a lot of speculators in the market.
All right, as we talk about cocoa over the next 20 years, what about chocolate over the next 4 weeks? Next hour on the call, what is the outlook for the holidays, and are you going to have to pay more? Back to you guys.
Okay, Jenny, thank you.
Chocolate is just delicious.
The whole concept makes me nervous.
What is your favorite kind of chocolate? Dark, light, white?
You know, it depends on what it's with. For example, the chocolate-covered cherries?
Yep.
Only good with dark chocolate, not milk.
Right. Oh, yeah, I hear you on that.
But for other things, I like milk.
I like milk just if I'm just having a plain old piece, yeah. All right. Well, we're talking cocoa futures, but we do want to call your attention to the Dow, down 130 points off the lows of the session at 140. Roger Corrado is vice president with Spectrum Commodity Group. He trades cocoa. And I guess in light of what we're seeing with the overall market right now, Roger, could you explain just what sort of correlation you usually see between cocoa and equities, or cocoa and oil? What is the usual way it's correlated?
Well, basically these days everything's been correlated with the dollar. You know, the formula's been very basic and pretty simple. The dollar's down and our products rise. The dollar's up and our products weaken. I mean, cocoa's a little different because it's basically, the Ivory Coast produces 32% of the world's cocoa, and they've been basically involved in sort of a civil war since 2002, and they have elections coming up this weekend, so you may see, quite volatility in the price coming within the next few weeks.
What happened to the story about the guy who bought all the cocoa up and stuck it in a warehouse, and that was completely distorting the market?
Well, that was the story a few months ago, and he's sitting on a supply of cocoa. It really hasn't affected. I mean, he actually paid probably on average a much higher price than where the market is right now. So I don't think that story is really something to look at. I mean, as a trader, my eyes are looking at these elections coming up this weekend.
Elections
In the Ivory Coast.
in the Ivory Coast. Okay. Roger, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Mark.
Okay, up next, a firefight on the Korean Peninsula. Definitely weighing on our markets today, but what will the global effect be? We will go trading the globe.
And Americans have made it clear they don't like pat downs, but then they don't like body scanners.
In a live exclusive interview happening today on Power Lunch at 1:30 p.m. Eastern.
Cocoa prices are down from their sky-high prices earlier this year, but they're still historically high based on supply concerns. This as new markets like India and China develop a sweet tooth. The U.S. remains the biggest chocolate market, though, and Jane Wells joins us live from my very favorite See's Candy facilities with the holiday outlook. Jane, why do you remind me of Lucille Ball right now?
Oh, how prescient of you, Melissa. Just you stand by, because this facility is very famous, and we'll explain in a while. We're going to emphasize the sweet and bittersweet here, even as we've been discussing that cocoa prices and that cocoa itself may become so dangerously rare in the next few years. Chocolate's outlook is already sweeter. Helvia says, quote, the chocolate sector has been displaying all the signs of a late recovery that is still ongoing, especially in the premium segment. And See's Candy, owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire, tells us it will again raise prices, as it does every year, a couple of percentage points. Now, half the price of chocolate is cocoa, and See's locks in its cocoa prices about a year out. One bright spot this Christmas, business gifting.
Holidays will be up this year. There are more people out in the malls. Our internet sales are higher. The last couple of years there were cutbacks and reductions in the business gifts, but they're up again. Our raw material costs are about the same as they were last year. So with sales up and costs about the same, you know, we should actually be able to produce a little more profit.
Now, most of cocoa is grown in Africa, and there's some political instability concerns in Ivory Coast, but new markets are opening up like Vietnam, which is trying not to repeat the mistakes of the past.
When they came into the coffee market, they basically destroyed the coffee market and made it difficult for farmers around the world to have a sustainable crop at the low prices. They're being very careful with cocoa to make sure that they don't affect the market that way.
If this place looks slightly familiar, it should. It was visited by a famous TV show a long time ago, which looked at the way it was set up then and then recreated it for a famous scene.
Oh, this is easy. Yeah, we can handle this, okay?
Oh, but it wasn't easy, was it, Lucy? I laughed watching that scene again last night. I really don't know how Lucille Ball and Vivian Vance got through that thing without either gagging or breaking character. I've been wanting to do this all day.
Oh, Jane. Delicious.
Good.
Jane, I did not know that you were in that same factory when I said that before. That's very funny. Nuts and chews are my very favorite. Is that what you're eating? You got some nuts and chews there?
That's what I'm eating. I would try, like Lucy, to put some in my bra, but I think it would be a big chocolate mess.
Oh, my goodness. All right, Jane Wells, bring some back for me.
Yeah.
Too much information, Jane. Thank you very much for that.
I had a question. I forgot it as soon as she said that because it's just...
It was kind of a showstopper. A quick break here, and we'll go to Stocks to Watch.
As RBC, or Royal Bank of Canada, like as RBC, or Royal Bank of Canada, like IACI. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, Matt Ernesto. Restaurants are a little more crowded these days, and all those hungry patrons may be helping out the nation's employment picture. Jane Wells is live at IHOP, measuring the restaurant indicator one bite at a time. Janie.
You got it. Mark, a Rudy Tooty fresh and fruity good morning to you. The National Restaurant Association's Performance Index has risen to its highest level in over 3 years. If you take a look at the numbers, it is over 100 for the second straight month in October, as most restaurants reported an increase in same-store sales. Now, the index is a combination of sales, traffic, labor, and capital expenditures. Now, less than half of restaurants, 44%, reported an increase in traffic versus a year ago, but that's up from 38% the month before. Since the beginning of the year, the industry has added over 140,000 jobs, growing at 4 times the rate of the general economy. Julia Stewart is chairman and CEO of DineEquity, says the restaurant industry is the second largest private industry in the country. Her company runs IHOP, and Applebee's says comps are slightly positive at IHOP, and Applebee's has had 4 straight quarters of same-store sales growth. Our franchisees, or if we're company owned, our operators are hiring more people. They're giving them more hours.
Every percentage point, let's use just American, every